Earlier this morning, space startup Aalyria announced that it has raised $100 million in a Series B funding round. The California-based firm says it's enabling commercial and government customers to operate networks in motion. Founder and CEO Chris Taylor joins me now. Chris, welcome to NYSE Live.
Good morning, Ashley.
All right, so before we get into this news, what is Aalyria's mission?
So our mission is to be able to service customers who have networks that are in motion and use antennas that are directional in nature. And that's really where the industry is moving. No longer are we using sort of wide broadcast networks. It's becoming much longer distances with required a lot more power behind them. So we are orchestrating those networks, and then we're orchestrating those networks with other networks that they'd like to interoperate with.
All right, and how will you be deploying the new capital?
Well, first we're going to deploy on engineering team, grow our engineering team. We have a lot of interest in what we're doing, and thankfully a lot of our customers are bringing very interesting new features that they'd like to see. So we'll be growing the engineering team, we'll be growing the growth team, and we'll be growing our ability to put our tight beam product direct ground to space and space to ground free space optic connectivity.
All right, and I understand that your firm has developed a pair of high-level solutions. First, can you break down space-time for our viewers?
Sure. Space-time is what we call a temporospatial software-defined networking platform. It's kind of SDN and SD-WAN on steroids. We are able to orchestrate in all domains, land, sea, air, and space, assets that are moving. In this case, we might take a satellite moving at 17,000 miles per hour in space with an antenna that it's trying to service and connect to on the ground or in the air or on the sea. That allows those companies that have those networks to deliver better SLAs, to deliver better connectivity. And so we have delivered that both commercially with our partner Telesat for their new Lightspeed constellation. And we're doing a lot of work with the US government because the US government's spent a lot of money on a lot of different networks and a lot of different assets, and they realize that they'd like to pull those all together to be much more efficient and effective for the various missions that they're running. And then the ability to do that across multiple networks in multiple domains is really the value that we're bringing to everyone.
All right, and can you break down the other notable solution, tight beam, for us?
Sure. Tight beam was really meant, it started back 20 some years ago in Lawrence Livermore Labs. Google bought it and then we acquired it from Google. But the whole idea is to be able to go direct ground to space, space to ground at no less than 100 gigs per second. And we're way past that as it is. The ability to use light to be able to move data where there is no infrastructure in the world and be able to get through the atmosphere, which is really what the bane of free space optics has been before. We've been able to, I don't want to say solve it because physics still wins, but we've been able to push greater distances, light at 100 gigs per second to really bring networks and connectivity where it never existed before.
And I understand you see these two technologies, space-time and tight beam, as a once-in-a-generation combination. How do they work together?
Sure. Imagine for a second that you had a tight beam terminal on every commercial airliner in the world, and you had ground stations. You would, because airliners are moving, you would have to be able to orchestrate what free space optics terminal would pick up what piece of work as it passed over. That has to be orchestrated, right? And then the ability also for tight beam to be on ships satellites, etc., we have the ability then to move data all over the world in light in a much, much more secure fashion. Think of it as your own global VPN across light. And so the ability to push those together really enhances connectivity around the world.
All right. And what is next for Aalyria, Chris?
Well, I think the next piece of the industry that there's lots of interest in us for is 5G, 6G, NTN. We're doing some work for the European Space Agency where they're adapting some of our space-time work for their ORAN APIs, ORAN RIC, Radio Intelligent Controller. Again, the cellular industry is modeled around stationary cell phone towers. For NTN, 5G NTN, we're putting the cell phone towers in space and they're moving at 17,000 miles per hour. There was no software or the ability to make that all work on the ground. And NTN is picking up an amazing reputation for being the next thing in communications, which is why we're going to Barcelona to the Mobile World Congress to sort of show everybody what we've been doing.
All right. Thank you, Chris Taylor, founder and CEO of Aalyria.
Thanks so much, Ashley.